What's going on, guys? JPS back for another video, and today we'll be reacting to 11 weird things I had never seen before coming to Australia. And after reading that title initially, I began racking my brain for what these weird things could be. I've never been to Australia, but certainly plan on coming sometime very soon. So make sure you subscribe so you don't miss those videos. And I've watched some videos on Australia, but what are some, you know what I'm saying? I'm intrigued to say the least. So thank you all so much for all of the recent support on my videos. I really appreciate it. And let's get right into it and see what these 11 weird things are.
In this video, we're going to talk about the weirdest things I found in Australia that I had never seen before. Let's get started. The first thing is separate toilets and no bidets. In Australia, many houses are usually designed with the toilets separate from the main bathroom. So basically you have a little room just for the toilet and then a bathroom where you wash your hands, you have the mirror, the shower. And based on my research, historically, this was done for practical reasons, to allow one person to use the toilet while another uses the bathroom, etc. And another reason, of course, is hygiene and privacy. And again, this is something super surprising because in my country, I'm originally from Buenos Aires, Argentina, and in my country, separate toilets don't exist.
I knew it, bro. I knew it. We reacted to a video recently. She finally said where she's from, and I guessed Argentina. I guess it's kind of obvious, but this is definitely a weird thing. I've noticed that when I visited the UK, they have this type of thing going on where the toilet is separate. But in the United States, you'll find the sink, shower, and toilet all in the same room. So that is a bit of a culture shock, but it is quite practical. Because she's right. Multiple people can be using the utilities at the same time, which is very convenient.
Separate toilets don't exist. So when I first came here, especially I was living in a share house, and yeah, I found it very interesting, but at the same time, again, very practical, especially if you're living in a house with a lot of people, perhaps a big family with children. You don't have to wait for your turn to use the toilet. You just can go and then another person can have a shower in the separate bathroom. And another thing in relation to this, in relation to bathrooms and toilets, and this is something that I had first seen in the US, and then when I came to Australia again, it surprised me because it's not usual here either. It's bidets, or we call them bidet. Yeah, that was another huge difference. In my country, Argentina, bidets are basically an essential part of the bathroom. And in many European countries, this is the case as well. But yeah, in Australia, they don't exist. And I remember I was so surprised that I told my friends about it. And they were like, oh, that's disgusting. How come they don't have bidets? Then I told my Aussie friend.
I thought this was only an Asian thing. I didn't know they had that in Argentina, and she's saying throughout Europe. Maybe I need to go further east into Europe. But no, yeah, we don't have bidets in the United States. You know, people just use toilet paper to clean themselves up. I wonder which one is more hygienic, though. I don't know. Comment down below what you think.
Then I told my Aussie friends about the bidets, and they find disgusting the fact that we have bidets as well. So it's a very interesting cultural difference. And yeah, I don't know, it's something that caught my attention. The second thing that I found very weird is Vegemite. Aussies love their Vegemite. And again, this is one of the weirdest things that I've come across. And if you don't know what it is, this is a spread that is made of brewer's yeast extract, a byproduct of beer manufacturing, that you can put on a piece of toast, crackers, sandwiches. And I remember the first time that I tried Vegemite. It wasn't actually here in Australia, but it was...
And let's be honest, guys, the amount that he was putting on this toast right here is way too much. Any bit of it is too much. Oh my God. I'm sorry.
It wasn't actually here in Australia, but it was
so
one
bad.
year before coming here. I was studying English with an Aussie teacher, and I remember that he brought Vegemite for me to try. And at the beginning, when I looked at it, I hadn't tried it yet. When I looked at it, I thought it was yummy because it reminded me of chocolate, right? Like if you see the color of Vegemite, it looks like Nutella. And then, of course, I gave it a try. He put it on a piece of toast. Basically, you have just to put a bit of butter, then a bit of Vegemite. And I tried it, and yeah, my face. It was basically lemon face. It was the weirdest thing that I had ever tried in my life. Now I like it. I don't eat it every day, but I do live with my Aussie partner, and Vegemite is an essential item in the house, in the fridge. And to give you an idea, it basically tastes very salty, kind of bitter as well. And an interesting fact as well is that Vegemite apparently was born in the 1920s in Melbourne, and it was an attempt to replicate the British Marmite, which I haven't tried. Please don't troll me, because when I read this interesting fact from my partner, he got very offended. So please don't blame it on me. This is on the internet. I don't know whether it is true or not. You can, leave a comment below and tell me what you think. Another thing
I don't really know what the difference between Marmite and Vegemite is. To me, they're almost the same thing. But guys, I think it may be one of those things where you just have to keep eating it until it tastes good. But I don't know. It's just like there's so many nicer things to eat out there. Oh.
My attention when I first came to Australia is the fact that alcohol is sold separately. So you won't find alcohol in supermarkets. I remember the first time that I went to a supermarket to get a bottle of wine, and I spent at least 30 minutes going around just looking for the alcohol section, right? And I couldn't find it, and until I asked, and of course I realized that there was a bottle shop outside. Apparently this is a measure that they've taken to limit excessive alcohol drinking. As I've said in other videos, Australia is known for having a strong drinking culture, and that's why there are high taxes on alcohol, and also it seems that that's the reason why they have separate bottle shops. Whereas in my country, in Argentina, as well as in many European countries, when you go to the supermarket, you'll always find the alcohol section right in there. We don't have separate bottle shops, so that's an interesting difference and something that now I've gotten used to it, but it's still a bit weird. Again, I think that caught my attention when I first came to Australia is the fact
we have separate bottle shops in the United States as well, so I'm used to that. But I guess, man, Australians party too hard. They had to nerf you guys a little bit. Gotta go to the bottle-o. Not a problem, though.
Caught my attention when I first came to Australia is the fact that Australians place stuff that they don't want on the street outside their home. And this practice is called hard rubbish collection. And most of these items are usually pieces of furniture or appliances that people put outside their homes for other people to come and pick them up, or for a truck to pick it up. So it's very interesting. And to be honest, many of these items are usually in really good shape. I know many people who basically make a living out of that. They go and collect, a couch that perhaps is in good condition or just a bit dirty. They clean it up or they refurbish it, and then they sell it on Facebook Marketplace, and they made a lot of money. So perhaps it's a good business idea if you want to explore that. Another thing that I found very surprising when I first came to Australia is the fact that there are very, very hefty fines for putting your feet on public transport seats. And these fines actually go up to 288 Australian dollars. It's insane. And of course, it makes sense, right? I don't think anywhere in the world it's polite or respectful to put your feet on the seat, right? On the public transport seat where other people are going to sit. It's basic good manners. But I had never seen that they actually fine you for that. And such, again, hefty fines. So that's something that caught my attention. Housewarming parties. Now, I remember the first...
They can't do that on United States public transport, especially in New York City, because there are so many homeless people that sleep on the train, so their feet are on it. It's just like, that would be such a hard thing to really control. But the fact that there's a fine for that is crazy. What? I've heard that Australians, or at least your government or the rules and things, can be a bit overboard. Now, some people have different views on this. Like, I remember this Australian was telling me that you can get fined or in trouble with the police for not wearing a helmet on a bicycle. Obviously, it's advisable to wear a helmet on a bike to protect yourself. But, that was like an example. That doesn't happen in the United States. I think it's the law, but no one cares. Everyone rides without a helmet. So let me know what you think about the Australian laws. That feet on the public transport seat brought that to my attention, because I remember this being a big thing. Are Australian laws too encroaching or authoritative and take away your personal choice or freedoms in some ways that you guys think it's too much? Or are these good? Let me know in the comments your thoughts, guys. I'd love to hear the opinions.
First time that I was invited to a gathering here in Australia, and that was actually a housewarming party. And I remember when I got that invitation, I was a bit confused because I was like, what is a housewarming party? I had to Google it, right? And I'm sure that housewarming parties are very normal in many countries, but at least not in mine. So again, for me, this was weird. And if you don't know what a housewarming party is, let me explain very quickly. This is basically a tradition where you invite your friends to come see your new home. Basically, when you move to a new house, you have a gathering with drinks, finger food, etc., and you show your friends your new place. That's basically it. I feel that it's an excuse to just have a gathering and drink with your mates, and that's perfectly fine. I actually love housewarming parties, so much so that in my previous place, back in 2019, before the pandemic, I hosted a onesie housewarming party. We were 35 adults, all wearing onesies.
Damn.
And having snacks, chatting, playing games. It was super fun. And since then, I love housewarming parties. So it was a pleasant surprise. Okay, let's talk about the healthcare system and doctors in Australia, because this is something that as well, it really surprised me when I first came here. To be honest, I was a bit confused. Now, if you want to know about the healthcare system in Australia, I have a whole dedicated video about it. I think it's going to make your life easier. Now, in my country, in Argentina, and I know many European countries are exactly the same, when you have an ailment, when you're feeling sick, perhaps you have a tummy issue, you usually go to the specialist directly. You go to the gastroenterologist, right? That's the case in my country. Whereas here in Australia, your first point of contact is your GP, your general practitioner. Basically, a doctor that does general practice, and they're not a specialist, but they do everything. It's general medicine. And then perhaps they're going to give you a prescription, refer you for x-rays, etc. Now, if your tummy ache gets worse over time and the issue doesn't get resolved, then your GP is going to refer you to a specialist. But your first point of contact here in Australia is a GP. Another example, if you have to go to the gynecologist and have a pap smear, here in Australia, again, you go to your GP first. Whereas in my country, you usually go to the gynecologist first, and you're going to have your own gynecologist, your specialist, and you have all the tests. The gynecologist does everything for you. Whereas here in Australia, you are going to go to the GP or a nurse, perhaps, and they're going to do that for you. Something interesting, again, a huge difference. Again, another thing.
This is an interesting point. In the United States, you can go straight to the specialist. However, some specialists require a referral from a general practitioner or regular doctor. But there are some situations where if you're sick and it's nothing crazy, going to the GP is a good idea. So it's surprising that in Australia, based off of what she's saying, I don't know if this is the case, you don't have the option to go directly to the specialist. You have to go to the GP first to then go to the specialist. I feel like there's some situations where you should be able to go straight to the specialist because you know what type of care you need or what your problem is that needs to be addressed. Again, I'm going off of her. I don't know what Australian healthcare is really like. So that's something we should definitely take a deeper dive into and learn more about, because I'm sure there's a lot of differences and similarities.
What really surprised me when I first came to Australia was Australian football or footy or Aussie rules, or it has so many names, AFL. Anyway, I remember the first time I was here, I got my apartment, I turned the TV on and there was a footy match going on. For me, it was a big surprise. And to be honest, at the time I hadn't even heard about footy. It was a mix of rugby and soccer, but I wasn't really sure what was going on. It's basically neither. It's just a unique sport, very unique again to Australia, and Aussies love it, especially here in Melbourne. Most of my Australian colleagues as well, they're super fans of Collingwood, Richmond, Essendon. It's very interesting. I've been to 2 footy matches. What I really liked is the family environment. It's very family oriented. Rivals can sit next to each other. There's no aggression. Well, at least in my opinion, when I compare it to the Argentinian team or when you compare it to England, they're much more. Everything's
tame compared to England, especially with the football. They get so pissed over if their team loses and, fights and all that.
Kind of passion, if you want. But here in Australia, it's more family oriented. And that's something that, I really appreciate and I do like. Another thing that surprised me about Australia is the fact that it's compulsory for school kids to always wear some protective hats.
You see what I'm saying? Compulsory. This is, again, it's like they're forcing you. I don't know if the sun is extra strong in Australia and the risk of cancer goes up further, but Are they outside all day? I don't know. Let's learn more.
School kids to always wear sun protective hats outside. Of course, the reason for this is that Australia has some of the highest UV levels in the world. So it's a measure, again, that for me was surprising because when I was in school, I didn't have to wear a hat. It wasn't compulsory. But at the same time, yeah, it makes complete sense. So it's actually really, really good. And another thing in relation to the Australian school dress code, if you want, is the fact that school kids have to carry very big bags. So you see the little 7-year-old carrying a bag that is almost bigger than them. And I don't know, it's weird. In my uneducated opinion, and I'm not a health professional, I'm not a chiropractor, so I'm not sure. But in my opinion, carrying a lot of weight at that age probably poses some kind of risk for the kid's posture. I'm not sure. You can leave a comment if you know more about this. Growing up, in my case, all kids have the wheelie bags. We basically used that. So yeah, that was another thing that I found weird, surprising. I don't know if it's good or bad, but it's interesting, I guess. Okay, another thing that I think it's weird, surprising.
Are you forced to wear the big bags too? I don't know. The hat situation makes sense given the high UV rays, but being forced to wear large bags, why can't they just get their own bag? I don't know.
Okay, another thing that I think it's weird, surprising, is the unique wildlife here in Australia. Of course, before coming here, you always hear about the kangaroos and the koalas, and these are very unique animals indeed. I don't think there are animals like these marsupials anywhere else in the world. But something that not many people know, and I include myself when I first came here, is that there are many more unique animals beyond the kangaroo and the koala. There are wallabies, quokkas, wombats. So every time I go hiking and every time I come across one of these animals, I found it very fascinating. It kind of tells you about the unique geography and diversity in Australia. I know that the quokkas are unique, for example, to Western Australia. So yeah, it's very interesting. And to be honest, even when I see a kangaroo or a wallaby, I still get very excited. Even again, after so many years of living here, yeah, it's fascinating and it's very, very unique. Another thing that really surprised me about Australia, and perhaps it shouldn't have, considering how important the beach lifestyle is for this country, is that they have a beach safety education program called NEPERS. This is basically a program where kids as young as 5 years old learn about beach safety and rescue techniques. So if you're at the beach at any coastal town in Australia, usually in the morning during weekends, you are probably going to come across all these kids being trained for the NEPERS program, basically being trained on life-saving techniques and, as I said, beach safety, etc. So yeah, it's something that I would have loved to be able to have when growing up. I'm
a huge fan of that, guys. There's so many people in the United States that don't know how to swim and go to the ocean, and they don't understand the risks associated with that. You know, like, it is easy to lose your life. It is very easy to lose your life. Mother Nature is very strong. So the fact that beach culture is so prominent in Australia, I'm glad that they are, teaching the young kids how to be safe and how the ocean works. I wish that was a thing in the US, but again, the beach culture is not very prominent. Communities are decentralized. So people are only visiting the beach, for vacation and every now and then. So it's harder to get, educate people. That's probably one of the biggest problems in the United States, not just with the beach in general. People are so ignorant, and there's a lack of education at every level.
Amazing. And of course, again, this reflects the importance of knowing how to swim here in Australia. That's super important. That's the one skill that you do need to learn if you're seeking that beach lifestyle, I guess. So those are the things that I find interesting, surprising, weird about Australia as a migrant. And yeah, let me know what's your opinion about them, if you have any surprising things.
Really good video. I enjoyed that a lot. And there were some things in there that I was a bit confused about. So feel free to throw your thoughts into the comments down below. Not trying to be all judgy about Australia. It's just surprising that there's a lot more cultural differences than I thought there would be, at least outlined in this video. So very enjoyable, guys. I hope you had fun watching this. If you did, hit the like button, hit subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next one. Peace.